Good morning, and thanks for waking up with us. This morning we've got Don Churchwell here in the studio. He's a local author and a friend of the show. He's also married to the lovely and vivacious Sheila Churchwell, who decorated this beautiful set with faux hand furniture. Don, welcome to the show.
Morning, glad to be here.
We got our plug in.
There we go.
and I got to tell you, your house must be beautiful, because I know Sheila does a great job of decorating, doesn't she?
It's gorgeous.
It really is. But we're not here to talk about faux hands, although they're great. And Sheila, of course, is a very talented interior decorator. You are a local author, and you've published, what, 4 books now?
4, yes.
4 books. And, you know, it's always fascinates me how people get into that. I mean, this has really got to be a labor of love.
It is, and I enjoy it, and honestly, it's a hobby for me. I have a real job, but thank God.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's the most rewarding is you take something out of your head, and you put it on paper, and you throw it out there, and you have somebody that you've never met, that you don't know, that contacts you on my Facebook page or by email or something and says, hey, I read your book and I really enjoyed it, and there's something that you can't quite, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a feeling that irregardless of anything else that comes out of it, you know, that's a great feeling to have somebody enjoy something you did. And I guess an artist or a songwriter, or I guess they have that same feeling, but it was the first time I'd ever had that, and it was remarkable. So
yeah, when you have the product of your imagination be appreciated, I can only imagine how good that must feel and what a rewarding experience that is. Where do you get your inspiration from? Because bear with me just a minute. I want to read something here. This little flyleaf here. After a disastrous mission in Cambodia, Alexandra Jane A.J. Mooring is forced to choose a new career. She's asked to leave the Marine Corps and decides to take a path that is the most logical choice. She becomes a contract assassin for the DEA. Where do you get these ideas from? This is just, and this is Drop Dead Gorgeous, your latest publication.
Maybe too much time.
Yeah.
And excess amounts of coffee.
Yeah.
Actually, all of my books have some central themes, but what I like to do is I like to take actual historical events, real history, and that's one thread. And then I invent fictitious characters, and that's another thread. And then I kind of weave my characters through actual history, but since it's plainly labeled fiction, I can twist things around a little bit as it suits me. And my books are not conspiracy type books in from the standpoint that I don't really believe in most conspiracies, but they're what if books. They're could this have happened?
Are you a history buff?
Yes. I've got a really big library at the house, and the majority of it is nonfiction, and the majority of it is history.
So if you study history and you're intrigued by history, but like a lot of us are, I could see how you would kind of go off on a tangent and say, well, what if, you know, Lincoln went somewhere else that night, or what if?
You can introduce fascinating twists into all kinds of things, and that's what I've tried to do in these.
You know, we've got to run off to the local weather, but on the other side, I want to talk about your other books, because I see there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of historical stuff, and maybe we can talk more about that. And I also want to talk about how people can be published too. Because before the break you said, what did you say? Everybody's got one good book in them.
Yeah.
So
that's what they say.
We'll see if we can get that book loose out of you. And we'll be right back after your local weather, brought to you by the West Pittman Law Firm. westpittmanlawfirm.com. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with published author and local author Don Churchwell. Don, your books are all about intrigue, but I do want to nail you down on one thing. How do you get published? I mean, you have this book in you, you commit it to paper or to electrons. How do you go about getting it published?
E-publishing has changed everything. Nowadays, you can simply upload a book file, you copyright it, you upload the file to Amazon or somebody like that, and somebody can be sitting in Omaha, Nebraska with a tablet, and in 24 hours, your book's online and available for sale.
So you don't even have to print a hard copy. I mean, you could just have a soft copy floating out there, and someone can download it onto their tablet or their Kindle or whatever, and appreciate your work.
Right. I've had downloads in the UK. I've had probably 10 or 15 countries that I've had downloads in.
The historical sense of these things is really great, because I'm looking at this one, The Head of the Snake, and here we go. We got Samantha Mooring stands on a sidewalk in Washington, D.C., 4 feet away. A man who tormented her and attempted to rape her 2 years ago before faces her with a gun in one hand and her 18-year-old. I mean, this is like spellbinding kind of stuff. You've got the your first book, The Knights of Pennsylvania, and you hear says, what do the deaths of John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and the shooting of Governor George Wallace have in common? Probably not much, but then you weave this great tale from those historical events. Where does all this come from?
Like I said, maybe lack of sleep, too much coffee. The second career happened like a lot of other people. I was involved in the construction industry, and when the economy tanked, I wound up going from working 60 or 65 hours to 40 hours, and I had to have something to do when I got home in the afternoon. So
yeah,
I started writing. A friend encouraged me to go ahead and publish, and so I published my one book. And
the first one was
the first
Knights
one was
of
the
1600 Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, and immediately when I finished the first one, she said, well, when are you coming out with a sequel? And I hadn't even thought about a sequel.
And then you came out with Head of the Snake?
Right.
And then your next one was Drop Dead Gorgeous?
Right. What happened was I was actually, I like to work on 2 at a time. And I was working on this one and this one.
And this is about the lady assassin.
This is about the lady assassin. And actually that one got out ahead of this one. So I kind of published them a little out of sequence.
Okay. And then you've got, I guess the corollary to the Head of the Snake is the Executive Action.
Right. That's the third part of the trilogy on the 1600 series. So.
Well, just amazing stuff. Don Churchwell, I'm always impressed by writers, because it does take a certain degree of commitment. It takes a certain lifestyle too, I would imagine. Do you write late at night, early in the morning? I mean, what's your process?
I write when it comes to me, but Sheila gets home later than I do. So I normally have maybe an hour or so before she gets home. And then Saturday's a big day for her at work, and I'm off, so I have Saturday. So I try to commit myself to 3,000 or 4,000 words a week, and sometimes I make it and sometimes I don't. And since I'm really, as much as anything, a hobbyist writer, I can do that. I would hate to know that I had
deadline
to do this to eat.
Yeah.
So for me, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I get to get some feedback from my readers. And
how can people find your work?
The easiest way is to go to Amazon. And
we could just put
in the
your name
search
in.
bar, type Donald Churchwell, and all the books will come up.
Go to Amazon.com, Donald Churchwell. You'll see the body of your work there.
Right.
And you get to read a little bit of it on Amazon.
Actually, you can download about 2 chapters. And
if
see
you like it,
it,
go for the whole book.
Yeah, you start clicking.
Don Churchwell, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about your hobby.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure having you here.
Pleasure.
And we'll be right back after your Mad Hatter Minute.
Hi, this is David Lovett, and this is your Mad Hatter Minute. Today we're going to talk about exhaust. There are 3 things in your vehicle that make your car go. You have fuel, you have fire, and you have air. Air comes into the motor, it has to leave, and it leaves through your exhaust. Your exhaust consists of several different components. The components we're going to talk about today is the catalytic converter. The catalytic converter is the device that was actually put into effect in 1975 by the federal government. It's a device that takes unburned gas and burns it off so you don't pollute the air and pollute the ozone. Carbon monoxide is reduced, nitrogen oxide is reduced, and all the noxious fumes are reduced. These little babies save the planet. The catalytic converter is made of a hardened shell, and on the inside of the catalytic converter we have honeycombs. The honeycombs on the inside of the converter are what actually burn off the excess gases. On the side of this particular catalytic converter, there's a port. That port is for an oxygen sensor. Some of our old school guys will tell you remove the catalytic converter. Well, let me tell you, as an exhaust professional, do not remove the catalytic converter. You're doing yourself a disservice, and you're going to harm your vehicle, and you're going to break the law. The oxygen sensor actually senses the unburned oxygen, and it sends signals back to the computer to tell what type of air-fuel ratio that gets mixed. If you remove the catalytic converter, you remove the oxygen sensor, and your car doesn't know what to do, and you actually have poor performance, and it's going to create a whole host of other problems. I'm David Lovett, and this has been your Mad Hatter Minute.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Stephen Favaloro from Forest Park Animal Hospital. And today, I want to ask you a special question because I brought a little prop here.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you remember this little thing or not.
It rings a bell.
But what we have in this little vial here, my dog Sandy, who everybody's sick of hearing about, my dog Sandy's bladder stone.
She carried that around for a little while, didn't she?
She actually had 2 of them that you took out.
Absolutely.
And how did these things form? I mean, this thing is a rock.
Yep, it actually is. It is a stone. We do see a lot of bladder stone surgery, bladder stones in dogs.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 most common are calcium oxalate, which a lot of people can, have heard about because people get calcium oxalate stones. And then the other is called a struvite, which is a mixture of magnesium and ammonia and phosphate. And they usually develop in the bladder as a result of either like hereditary problems or diet.
Or a combination. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
Or some breeds more susceptible to these types of
They
stones
are.
than others?
There are. So the calcium oxalates tend to develop in males more for whatever reason. And like certain breeds like Yorkies and Shih Tzus, things like that, are more prone to them. The magnesium phosphates, they're more in females. And usually like you'll see those in Maltese. We'll see those in Bichons, things like that.
So basically smaller breeds, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
we'll do. I mean, I had a Great Dane that had a calcium oxalate stone, and then his recurred and had another about 3 years later. But and that's another thing, the calcium oxalates. When they develop, I think it's like a 73% chance that you're going to have them again within 3 years.
Really? And what kinds does my dog have?
That is a struvite. Those are the magnesium phosphates.
Okay, so what are the chances of this reoccurring?
Well, actually, those are pretty good ones to have if you got to have them because those can be prevented. Those are generally a result of there is like the Bichon can develop those without having a bladder infection generally, but a bladder infection has to be key because there's staph bacteria in there. They will produce proteins that the magnesium and phosphate that are in the urine combine to form stones. And you can do it as quick as 2 weeks.
Now, dogs are not the cleanest animals in the world, I suppose, but how would they get a bladder infection? Is it from not getting out enough?
Well,
or,
for females, the urethra is shorter and wider, so bacteria can migrate up a lot easier, which is why we don't see the bacteria-based type in males because the urethra is so much longer. That combined with an alkaline pH and then diet, then these stones could form. So in essence, if you can keep them free of having bladder infection and then keep the urine acidic with certain dietary manipulations, then you can, have an environment where these stones won't develop.
So if you have a smaller dog and you want to keep it healthy, you want to make sure that this dog doesn't get these type of stones, can you do anything to avoid that?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things. It's like, how do you know when your dog has a bladder stone other than, they start having trouble urinating, blood in the urine? One of the things is, for the magnesium phosphates, even if you feed just a pure, diet over the counter, these dogs can still develop it. And sometimes they can have bladder infection, you don't know it.
See, my wife blames the stones on me.
Well,
because I give the dog little treats.
If you had the
if I'm
calcium-
making a sandwich, she gets a piece of turkey too.
Well, the calcium oxalates you can certainly blame on diet, but some of the ones that even if you do a very strict diet will develop them. But being that those are not the bacteria-based ones, and that we usually see them in males, a lot of it is like they just don't produce this hormone or this product called nephrocalcin in the urine, and that prevents calcium from binding with oxalate. And so if you don't have that or it's just not developed correctly, that's generally how they develop it. But feeding like foods that are high in calcium or even having diseases that are high in produce like hypercalcemia or Cushing's disease where they push more calcium into the bladder, or diuretics that push more calcium into the bladder. Those are ones that we tend to see more calcium oxalates in.
So it doesn't sound like there's a whole heck of a lot that
No.
owners can do except maybe keep them on their doggy diet.
Well, you absolutely, if you suspect any infections, but some people say, well, what's so bad about having a bladder stone? Is it?
I'll
is it
tell you,
bad?
we knew it with
Yeah.
our dog because she was not like herself, and she was hiding in the laundry room, shivering in pain.
Well, they're uncomfortable.
So, yeah.
They rub against the bladder. I mean, they can even get stuck in the urethra, and that's life-threatening.
Oh, wow. Well, keep an eye on those dogs, keep them on the diet, and just, know your dog, I suppose, is the best advice.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Stephen Favaloro, Forest Park Animal Hospital, thanks for that pet tip of the week.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Tara Griffin at Emerald Coast Dental Sleep Medicine, and I just came from the gym, and I'm a little sore. And I heard you've got some cosmic laser back here that does miracles. Okay, maybe. Am I overstating it?
It's not too much, actually. It's amazing what it can do. It's an MLS laser, and it's a cold laser, and it helps treat pain and inflammation and edema. So coming from the gym, the muscles getting tight right now from the workout, this certainly will relax and loosen everything, stimulate some energy at a cellular level to help with that soreness later.
Yeah, because I was at the gym at Workout Anytime, and I was severely injured by a young Taba instructor there. So I actually heard bones crackle. So maybe you can.
This should help.
Okay, so what do we need to do?
Okay, so let's put on some glasses.
Okay, I've got my sporty green glasses, and I
Yes.
guess these are green for a reason.
They are, because this is the color of the laser.
And they do match the shirt a little bit, so which is good.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to treat here the spine as well as across your traps, and I'm just going to run this up and down. And what it's doing is the difference between an MLS laser and other lasers is there are two wavelengths that it's working on, whereas many lasers will only have one wavelength, and so. One wavelength treats inflammation and edema, and then the other one treats pain. And there's a continuous pulse with one, and there's a continuous wave with one, and then there's a pulse wave with one. So that's what makes this unique, as well as the depth of penetration is 3 to 4 centimeters, and so that's extremely effective targeting what we need to do.
I got to tell you, Dr. Griffin, I really don't feel anything. I was kind of expecting some sort of sensation, but there's really nothing.
No, they call it a cold laser. Actually, there's a slight bit of warmth that comes off of it, but depending on how in tune you are with your body, oftentimes patients say that they can feel the energy coming off of the laser because it's light energy, and what it's doing is it's working at a cellular level to stimulate healing. And it's basically just encouraging natural healing. So again, with chronic pain patients, which we see a lot of pain patients, with head and neck pain and TMJ pain and things like that, this helps to eliminate having to use medicine or pain meds, especially, as well as surgery.
Normally, I'd go home and take a couple Motrin or something, and hope it doesn't hurt too bad.
You won't need to for this area. You might need to for some of the other muscle groups, but this should help also. From your workout, you typically get sore 2 to 3 days later, and this is going to help with any of that. So.
And it's penetrating right through the clothing.
It is.
It's kind of odd when you think it's light.
It does penetrate through. It's most effective. We'll tell patients to wear, loose-fitting clothing. So we're basically treating the head and neck area, and so contact is best. But you should still feel a difference.
Now, you of course use this on your patients who have TMJ and dental issues as well.
Yeah, dental actually is very interesting because this laser, we can use it after an extraction on a patient. We take a tooth out, and normally patients fear those procedures. They're pretty uncomfortable later. We prescribe pain meds and things like that to help them. And actually, you can use this laser right over the extraction area, and it will reduce the inflammation and pain immediately. And so the post-op pain is greatly reduced.
Wow, and it'll help heal quicker as well?
Oh yeah, certainly. Any surgeries or wound healing.
And that's such a soft tissue, or does that work for bone as well?
It's soft tissue, yeah, but it's cellular, so I mean, it's going to affect all of the tissues actually.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like say you were getting a dental implant or something,
yes.
and you need that bone to heal up quickly. So
absolutely, a few laser treatments, and it will drastically speed the healing, as well as orthodontic, like the appliances that we do for sleep apnea. One of the orthodontic ones, we can speed up our treatment for patients just by using it at their follow-ups.
You know, it's really amazing stuff. You know, not only can you reshape the airway and reshape people's, you know, way they breathe and able to sleep and all that other stuff, but you can actually speed that along.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To remodel all of those structures.
Yes, certainly, and that's why we've invested in it. This is just FDA approved for dentists recently. Less than 1% of dentists have this technology, so we're very happy to have it here in Bay County.
Right here with Dr. Tara Griffin at Emerald Coast Dental Sleep Medicine.